How you doing, Ashley? I'm going to be asking you a few questions about backcountry shovels and your experiences with them. So my first question is, what features do you like about your shovel and why?
So I really enjoy kind of the lightness of my shovel, and it being so kind of skinny enough to fit in my pack or in my truck or in my snowmobile pack.
So do you feel like your shovels could be lighter? I mean, do you ever feel like, you can still kind of feel it, you'd like it to be lighter, like maybe your backpack's too heavy?
Yeah, it would be nice for them to be lighter for sure, but then you also have the possibility of them just being too thin, more brittle, so they could break easier, which is definitely not what you want.
So you kind of are looking for something that is more, lightness isn't as important as its like length of life, how strong the shovel is, how long it's gonna last.
Yes, pretty much, yeah.
Okay. What kind of features don't work for you, and why don't they?
Just kind of like the simplicity of it. I just feel like it's just a shovel. Like there's nothing else to it. It's the only thing it does is shovel things. Takes out dirt, sometimes snow, mostly snow actually, not so much rocks and stuff like that. But I wish there was just some more extra things to it.
Do you ever feel like it's too hard to like put your shovel together? It like takes too long.
Yeah, I never really actually thought about that. I have different shovels, so some of them just kind of pop out. Other ones are two-piecers in which you gotta put together. It would be nice maybe if it was just one piece, so you wouldn't have the possibility of losing a handle, and then you're kind of screwed with only half a shovel.
Okay, and then how do you use your shovel?
I guess it just kind of depends on the day. If my snowmobile's stuck, I'm there digging snow out of the tunnel. If I'm skiing, hopefully I never have to dig someone out of an avalanche, but that happens. When I'm off-roading in my truck, usually it's kind of muddy and rocky, so if I'm stuck in a situation where I'm stuck in the mud, sometimes a shovel works, but max tracks work really well, so it'd be probably pretty cool if maybe a shovel could turn into a max track or something like that, so it's less things you have to carry. Yeah, that's pretty much what I use my shovel for.
So you're kind of looking for a shovel that could possibly have more features than just shoveling, because you were saying like with max tracks, maybe a shovel that could do that. You're kind of looking for a shovel that maybe has multiple uses.
Yeah, I think that would be super helpful. Like in my pack, I always feel like you gotta have a shovel, you gotta have a saw, you gotta have this, you have to have that. It would be really nice if I could just carry around one big tool, or not necessarily big, but really functional tool that could turn into a max track or pull out a saw, use it as a saw.
Well, then here's another question, because you're now kind of talking about, like, I was originally thinking kind of more like snow shovels, snow backcountry shovels, but now you're talking kind of the off-roading side of things. Are your shovels different that you have now between your backcountry and your off-road shovel?
Nope, they're pretty much the same shovel.
So then do you think like the snow shovels are maybe a little too tough? Because if you're using the same shovel, and I'm guessing that with like off-roading, well, I'm not guessing, I know with off-roading, that shovel will go through a lot more abuse than in the snow. So do you think you need to have something that strong when you're just doing like winter sports?
In that case, then maybe it could be like less heavy, which means it could have less material on it. But definitely for off-roading, weight isn't really a big concern because you're not really carrying the shovel around. Your truck's carrying it around for you. So in that case, yeah, I've definitely had a lot of shovels break and chip and a whole bunch of problems when I try to move rocks or mud or just anything kind of in general.
Okay. And then how often do you use your shovel, do you think?
To be honest, I don't really use my shovel that often. Usually, when I'm stuck in the snowmobiling, the shovel's kind of really hard to get to and takes a lot of effort to put together, so I might as well just start digging with my hands. But if there was a real emergency scenario, like someone was in an avalanche, yeah, I'd immediately go for my shovel just because it's more efficient. And then just kind of like when I'm off-roading, my max tracks kind of are second use. They work kind of as a shovel. Definitely in the sand they work better, but I don't really use a shovel when I'm off-roading just because I have like a winch and stuff like that, so I use other options first before I get out a shovel just because it's a lot of manual labor.
But you carry a shovel.
I do carry a shovel.
Okay. And you were talking about how it could be hard to get out of your backpack. Do you wish it was something that was easier to get out of the backpack or more accessible?
Yeah, for sure. I feel like if it was maybe in like an easier spot, took less time to put together, I would probably use it a little bit more.
Okay. And then this one's kind of a weird question, but how does your shovel feel? Like, does the handle work? Is it kind of, like I said earlier, is it hard to put together and do that kind of stuff with? Does it make it too hard to shovel? Like, is like maybe like the actual shovel part itself too heavy? Sorry, like stuff like that.
Okay, so in general, I think the shovel's pretty short, so that's a pretty disadvantage to it. You really got to get close and into it for it to have enough power to work. I really kind of hate the handle on it. It's just kind of like a regular shovel, just like any kind of shovel you'd have in your yard or anything like that. But the handle's kind of annoying, so maybe if it was kind of like an arched, so you can just kind of grab onto it. That could definitely make it easier. They look really stable and really strong, and then when you start to use them over time, they kind of warp. Or I've had multiple situations where I'd be snowmobiling and my shovel was in my pack, and then all of a sudden it would hook onto a tree, which is like a major safety hazard. You know, you just kind of get hung up on a tree, and that's kind of a bummer. And the main problem with that is just kind of the shovel handle. So maybe if it was redesigned so it was easier to grab, so you wouldn't have to take your glove off to use it, because that's another thing. I take off my glove to use the shovel because my hand doesn't fit through the hole with the glove on. Overall, I think shovels have been the same for a long time, and I really think they should probably change just because everything else is changing in our world, and a shovel is pretty basic, but at the same time, there's a lot of things it can improve on.
How is your shovel transport?
Like, where is it put?
Yeah, like where do you put it? How do you transport it? Like, go off of that, take it wherever you want to take it.
Okay, so in my truck, my shovel's just kind of in the trunk of my truck. It's not really secure or anything like that. It just kind of lays there. And in my snowmobile, it is usually on my tunnel bag, so it's just kind of strapped on that way. In my backcountry ski bag, it's in my pack, of course. It's just kind of strapped to the outside of it, just because it doesn't need to be in my pack. It doesn't need to be dry or anything like that.
Mm-hmm. And so, just kind of going off of that too, does it, well, no, okay, I guess we'll move on. Does the size of your shovel work well?
I kind of talked about that, but
yeah, you did.
So the size of the shovel kind of isn't very efficient. Like I said, it's really short, but I can understand for it to be really compacted, it needs to be small. But I think if you could design some kind of extendable shovel handle, it would make it easier to use.
Does it like fit in your backpack well?
Well, with newer backpacks now, there's like a section for a shovel. So I guess it depends on which kind of pack I have. Tunnel bags on my snowmobile have a specific compartment just for a shovel, and it seems to work for that. But when it comes to sitting in my truck, I guess there's no exact spot for it. It just kind of gets tossed in. But with that, also another thing is when there's mud on it, you don't have like running water usually when you're off-roading, and so you just kind of have to put it in your truck all muddy, which is also kind of a bummer with that too.
So you would like to maybe see something that snow and mud doesn't stick to easily.
Yeah, maybe
Because
something like
really
water repellent or something like that. That would probably be a good idea too.
Okay. And then, kind of my final question I have written down. Are there any functions that you wish your shovel did, or like other things that you have to carry with you that possibly could be a part of the shovel?
Yeah, so like I kind of stated before, I think a saw is really important. can kind of get you out of snowmobiling whether you're spending the night or not. So I'd really maybe saw could be part of the handle. It'd also be kind of nice maybe if it had like a little compartment in there where you can put your fire flints so they kind of stay dry. If your pack does get wet, it's another protective layer. What other things could go in there? I have rope and stuff like that in my packs. So if that could be attached, maybe like the handle. I know that they make those, there was a big thing about it, those bracelets that were turned into ropes. So maybe somehow the handle could be made of that kind of material. Just like if you need rope, you can just kind of unhandle it, and it could be the rope on your handle. What other things usually are in my pack? I have water, but a water bottle, there's nothing that can really replace that. And yeah, I think the main thing is just kind of a saw. I think a saw would be super helpful.
Okay, and like you were kind of talking with like flint and fire starters, so maybe like a small compartment for some things, some survival slash.
Yeah, or like a medical kit or
things.
something like that. Like I have a full-on medical kit in my bag, but that takes up a lot of room too. So maybe it's just something that could just be like an organizer, like a condenser or something.
Be hard to do in something small, but
yeah. Well, hopefully they
interesting ideas.
Well, you can like pull it out, maybe the handle, and extend it within there. But yeah, I think the main thing is pretty much just saw. Saw is the other thing that takes up a lot of room.
Well, thank you for your time. Thank you for doing this interview for me.
Sure.
It's definitely given me some more insight to what the shovel could do. So.
Do you have any other questions or?
Nothing really hitting me. Do you have any other comments that I didn't reach with the questions? Anything else that you would like to comment on about a shovel or what you would want to see in a shovel?
I don't think so. I think that everything was pretty much covered in your questions.
Alrighty.